Welcome to Cradle and All, a podcast hosted by sisters Renita and Christine to educate, inspire, and connect with other mothers. Every other week, listen as we discuss topics related to pregnancy, raising children, and balancing motherhood with other aspects of womanhood. Whether you're relaxing, juggling tasks, or even breast pumping, join us as we figure it out together. Hey, you guys, it's your host, Renita.
Hi, and this is Christine. Welcome back to Cradle and All. This week, we're talking all about how we manage our time and our schedules, and I'm hoping to share some insights with you guys, even though we're far from experts, but we do have some things that help us keep it all together.
Now, this week for me has been not so great with time management. I feel like I've just been so overwhelmed with all these things on my plate between the beginning of the new year, kids back in daycare after being sick for a while, having a bunch of new patients coming in with the start of their insurances, having a lot of side projects keeping me busy. I feel like there's just so much overflowing on my plate, and I need to do a better job with managing how I handle all of this. What do you think about your last few weeks as we got into the beginning of this year?
Yeah, I've been telling people how much I realized how much I love December and November because it's like so relaxed, so chill. All regular things are out the window as far as like regular schedules and just the normal routine. And then January comes and it's like a never ending Monday. It's like a million things to do. Think everything's back on. Everybody's on 10. Schedules are back at 100. And then for me, I actually started the year sick. I got COVID over the holidays, and then it kind of lingered with a cold. So I didn't get off to the start I wanted to in the new year as far as like ready to attack my goals, ready to attack the new year. But now that a couple weeks have gone by, I feel pretty confident in the routine. Granted, we still have a lot going on. We're moving and business is picking up, which is great. So I've had to really rely on my schedules and my management routines to keep things moving forward. So that really is keeping things afloat for my life right now.
Well, that's good. So what kind of things do you think are the key parts of your routines that help you kind of keep it together?
Well, for one, it's a matter of like every day having a plan for the day. Every day and then every week and even every month having a plan. So it's like zooming out week, day, week, month, having that plan, and even year, like big picture. Well, a big picture of the year, like New Year's Eve, my husband and I sit down and we look over the year calendar. Like, what do we want to do? It's like, okay, we want to go on this vacation in April. We want to go see this family. So not like super detailed, but detailed enough to where we have a big picture of some things we're looking forward to for the year. But as far as like the week, day, and month, that is a regular thing for my family to think about. So what do we need to accomplish today? My husband and I, every day, we both work from home. So every day we'll say, so what's happening with you today? What's on the agenda for today? And we talk about what we want to accomplish. It's not super sophisticated all the time. It might just be like, oh yeah, did you call this place? Or, just kind of checking in with each other. We say we want to do this. Did we do that? And that is very helpful that we're both here, and also just having that mental checklist and also written down checklists of what we need to accomplish that day and that week. So, I can dive in more to that, but that's kind of like an overview of how we do it. Just like the check-ins and the mental notes and the written notes of what we need to accomplish that week and that day. And I feel like you guys probably do the same thing because I've seen that calendar in your house, the whiteboard where you have stuff. Yeah. And you also have like a super detailed planner.
Yeah. Like I think that planning is my love language, but it's not really always the same with Bryson with everything. So we are good with plans that are kind of specific to the day to day. So we know, okay, our morning needs to be a certain way, our evening needs to be a certain way, and that's the gist. And so that helps us know, okay, this is probably what things are going to look like. But when we're actually in it, it almost feels like there is no plan. The details are not there in the way that I have the details in my individual life. So an example of this is, we always know in the morning, we have a plan about who's going to get the kids ready, who's going to take them to school, who's going to pack lunches. Those kind of plans are there. But then in the rush of the mornings, it just feels like it's so much chaos because the plan about what time we're going to get up may change. So some days I feel super
Mm.
rushed, or sometimes like I think, okay, I know exactly what they're going to wear, but then I realize, oh crap, I didn't do laundry and all the uniforms are still in the hamper. So like it's just so overwhelming because I feel like, oh, Renita, why don't you have it together? So I feel like the planning is there to an extent, but it's not as easy when you're planning for a whole family compared to when you're planning for yourself. The difference is like, if I need to plan something out for myself, I have my calendar, I have my check boxes. No one's going to mess with it because I'm in complete control. So that's why I sometimes get into a tizzy when I have to think about things for the whole family.
Mm. Well, I think
Now,
that the
yeah.
family planning though is a good place to start because that is pretty routine. It does not change as much as the things that may happen with your family outside of the children. Like for me, at least, I feel that way because the morning and evening routine with the kids are pretty much set in stone. So I feel like that helps me plan other things because that's so like routine. They're going to get up at this time. They're going to have to get dressed, eat breakfast, and get to school by whatever time. We have to pick him up at this. So I feel like that part to me, I don't even know if I consider that a part of my planning and time management because it's so like it's like going to work. It has to happen. I have to leave at this time, you know, if I were to go to the office. So for me, it's more so the other things that feel more chaotic or like more that I have to plan it out because it's not as routine. It changes day to day, week to week, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Now, another thing that really falls through the cracks for me, not even so much Bryson, because he's really good at the cooking and stuff like that, but is meal prep and meal decisions. It is like so stressful to me to figure out, okay, what are we going to eat for dinner? What are we going to have for lunch? What am I going to make for breakfast? Because I just don't like cooking and I don't really love, that's not my
Right.
forte. And so I wish I could be like, yeah, I meal prep, I get it all together, but like I literally don't. And I know that, you're the cook in your house. So what do you guys do for
Mm-hmm.
meals when it comes to preparation, planning, or just making sure that you manage your time appropriately?
Yeah, I've tried a lot of different things. I don't really have this, I don't do the same thing every day. My husband and I pretty much kind of like daily decide who's doing what. Some weeks we're better at it than others. I even at one point, like, I tried this planner for several years called the Happy Planner, which is really cute. It has stickers and you can customize it. You can change so many things about it. And they even have these stickers where you can have meal planning, which I still have the stickers, but I ended up not continuing with the planner. But the stickers allow you to meal prep. So I tried that and it was really, really great. But I didn't stick with it. So some weeks I try to like plan my meals for the week and go grocery shopping because I do most of the cooking. I think like 3 out of 5 nights a week I cook.
That's
But
good. Ooh.
yeah, I do. Like we have home cooked meals pretty much every day of the week. We don't eat out like that. And we sit at the table to eat dinner together every single night, including the weekends. We always sit at the table together, all four of us, and eat dinner. So even if it's takeout, we still sit at the table together and eat. But as far as the meals are concerned, like we will plan it either that weekend that I may go get groceries and say, okay, I'm making chili. I'm going to make chili on Monday. That'll last for 2 days. Then I'm going to make some chicken dish on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we'll do homemade pizza. So I'll plan it out that way and try to get ingredients for the week. And then I'll say, Dontrell, like usually I'm kind of fed up. I'm like, you have to cook tomorrow. I'm not cooking. And he's like, all right, like tonight, for example, this is actually a great example. My husband had to travel out of town for the evening because for one of his commitments. And before he left, he was like, I'm going to cook dinner. So he got all the ingredients. He made sloppy joes. He made it before he left and had it all ready for the kids and stuff. I didn't eat it. I don't like sloppy joes. I had sushi, but he made it and we had everything prepared before he left. So even though it wasn't planned days before, he knew yesterday that he was going out of town. And he knew that one thing he wanted to do was to prepare dinner for the family since he wouldn't be here. So for us, sometimes it is, like I said, that day to day, like, okay, so what's on the agenda for today? Who's cooking dinner tonight? Who do we need to call? What do we need to do? So he knew tonight was his night to do dinner. So he planned it in advance. But yeah, I think that kind of works for us. Just like the day by day, who's doing what. Sometimes it feels crazy, but it kind of works out.
Well, just thinking about all the things that are on our plate. Let's talk through it, because this is the same for a lot of moms who may be out there. Many of us are working with our, primary job. And
Right.
some of us, like you and like me, have some side things going on. So you have your primary job that you may be
Mm-hmm.
going out to the office for, or maybe working from home. You may have side passions, side projects, side hustles. You may just have hobbies and things that you love to do that bring you joy. Not to mention your family, your kids, the relationship you have with your spouse or significant other, your girlfriends, exercise. So there's just so many components of it that
Mm-hmm.
it's important to balance. But not everyone's a planner and not everyone's really great about it. So let's think about some other ways that people can use to kind of balance all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I know for me in particular, I'm big on like prioritizing things. I love checklists. So I am a planner, but even for people who are not planners, like I think about Bryson, who's not a planner, he just has his big three that he thinks about, like the top things that he wants to do every day, or the top things that needs to get done for our family. So I know for me, I am not the greatest at sticking it to just three things, but I try to prioritize on a certain time of day, certain things. So for example, I am an early riser. I've said this on the podcast before. I wake up at 5 every morning, and that's the only time that no one's going to bother me. Everyone's sleeping, so I can get things done that no one else is going to be able to do. So I prioritize things like folding laundry, working on some of my side projects, or if I really am having a good day, trying to do some self-care stuff during that time. But in the window where it's evening, the kids are home from daycare, Bryson's done with work, I try to prioritize our family time, spending time together there. And it's not perfect because work flows into family time sometimes, or sometimes I don't wake up at 5 a.m. But that's kind of another way I think that you can look at it, prioritizing certain things at certain times.
Right. That is a good way to think about it too. Like, I mean, personally, I still don't know how you wake up that early. I know some people that do. I tried it this morning, actually. I just happened to wake up and I was like, I didn't take a shower yesterday. So I got in the shower at 5 a.m. and I was like, all right, I'm going to start my day. But then after the shower, I went back to sleep.
Oh my God. This morning, Bryson woke up with me at 5 and he was so chipper. He's like, oh, I'm going to wake up too. I'm going to work. Why is it 8:30 right now? And he was already sleeping. He couldn't hang.
Yes. I feel like if you're not used to waking up that early, like it takes some getting used to. Because I was like so gung ho. I was like, oh, I'm up, take a shower. Then like, you know what? I'm going back to sleep. And I got up at 8 and I was like, whatever, I tried. But no, prioritizing is important because I do have a lot of responsibilities. Like I have several jobs and several responsibilities. So like I have the nanny agency. I work for as a consultant with another company and doing this, and then my full-time job. And so prioritizing, the way I do that is by writing lists and checklists, like you said. So I've tried a lot of different ways, color coding, or when the day starts, writing down what I want to accomplish. That's a good way that I do it. Is that when the day starts, at the beginning of the day, I'll write down a list of what I need to accomplish that day, my priorities for the day, and then what I need to accomplish. And I'll write it down for all of my different priorities, even when it comes to cooking dinner or even grocery shopping. So I'll have my personal priorities, my personal business priorities, my job, my, career, as far as my full-time job priorities. And then I want to get those things done by the end of the day. And it actually feels really good to check it off. Even if I've already done something, I'll put it on there just so I can check it off and say, okay, I did that. And then if I don't get it done, I'll look back to the next day and say, oh, I didn't get this done. So I'll write it on the checklist the next day. But that, to me, and I feel like you're the same way as far as writing that list of what do I need to do today. And even if it's like weeks ahead, I might have something I need to do in several weeks or several days, and I'll add it to my planner for that day, even if it's like far out,
Yeah. But see, the thing about it for me is that I love a checklist, like you said. There's such gratification about checking something off, but it also can put me into this trap of not managing my time well. Like I think I'm doing such a good job. I'm being organized. I'm making checklists and to-do lists. But one of my downfalls is that I can get into the cycle of making list after list after list, and things get so itemized that I'm not actually being as productive as I need to be. Or sometimes I am so focused on one thing out of that whole to-do list that it takes up too much time and I didn't get all these other things accomplished. And that's actually one of the things that I'm trying to work a lot more on this year. So an example of this is I have been researching something that I'm trying to do for one of my side passions that I'm working on. And every day I have this checklist about this particular thing, even though I have other responsibilities to do in my 5 a.m. wake up window where I'm trying to be the most productive. And I spend all this time planning and planning and planning that I don't think I'm making moves and actually getting things accomplished. So I end up in this black hole of working on one thing, losing time, and realize I didn't get all this other stuff accomplished. So one thing I had read about, just thinking about ways to be better with time management is to do something called time blocking, where you tell yourself if you have a lot of different tasks to do, like Christine, for you in the nanny agency, then your full-time job, then time with the kids, saying, okay, I'm only going to give myself 2 hours to work on this particular thing. Then I'm done. We'll focus on it another time. So really trying to be consistent with using your time wisely. And if you don't get something done during that time, you have to move on to the next task.
Yeah, I'm a proponent of that. I've tried that before. I went to this conference called Happy Black Woman back in 2018, and they talked about that. And so when I got back home, what she said was, her name was Rosetta Thurman. She said that it was about like how to manage your side hustles and how to make time for building your side hustle into maybe your full-time thing. And she recommended time blocking because that will actually hold you accountable for spending time doing the things that align to your other responsibilities. So when I got home, I tried that, and I was like, okay, so from when I'm finished my job at 5 o'clock or whatever, and then from 7 to 8 or 7 to 9, I'll spend time building my website on Mondays. On Wednesdays from 7 to 9, I will be spending that time doing content, but really being very specific about what I was doing during that time and making time to do that. And I actually try it now with my businesses. So I work from home, and I'll do the time blocking when I'm like in a good groove for different things. Like I'll do laundry from this time to this time at my house. And then in the evening time or during my lunch break is when I'll do tasks related to my own personal business, but really trying to be consistent with that. And even on my schedule for my personal business, I put on there, on these days, I'm focused on these things. Mondays, recruiting, Tuesdays, interviewing, Wednesday, and really trying to keep it focused so that I'm accomplishing things, the major buckets of work related to that project. Even though it's not like what's paying the bills, but I know that those things have to get done too. So I do really think that that's a great strategy for time management and actually accomplishing what you need to accomplish when it's not maybe the top priority.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely have to do better at this because I will just work, and then certain things fall to the wayside. And what that is for me is self-care. Like I will sleep less. I will work through lunch. I will stop exercising, stop meditating. Those are always the things that go first, but I need to change that and put that first. As we've talked about, I have to.
Yeah, I really do too. I mean, for me, it comes and goes depending on what's going on in my life. Like right now, I'm not the best at it, but I know in a couple weeks I'm going to be better at it because things are going to be different in my life. But I mean, it's so important to do that. The one thing that I will say that I do now is that I will not have screen time like within an hour before going to bed, unless I'm reading a book, which is on my phone or my like e-reader. But I feel like that's the one way that I have self-care is like, okay, no screen time, no blue light right before I go to bed or until like an hour or 30 minutes after I wake up. And that's so small, but it just makes me feel like it's something for me.
I love that. Screen time has been creeping more and more into my life just as I've been busier with everything. So, with the nature of the kind of work I do, I'm not always in front of a screen. There is components where I need to type and do stuff, but I get to be face to face with patients and stuff like that. But, to be able to do some of my side projects and just to manage some of the things going on in our home, bills and emails and even those kind of things, I feel like I'm constantly in front of the computer, in front of my phone,
Mm-hmm.
and it has been creeping more and more into our family time, more and more into other things. Because in my head, I'll be like, oh, just one more email, just super quick, or I just thought of something really quick. Let me write it on my phone, but I'm already on my phone and I quickly will look at something
Mm-hmm.
else. So it's so interesting how technology can play such a big role in what your day to day looks like. And I think that it's really important, especially for our kids who are watching, to see that we are not so attached to our technology the way that it's turning out to be for a lot of us.
Right. That's true. I mean, technology is kind of the way to get things done, though, because you can do so much on a phone and so much on a computer. But
Yes.
something that you said reminded me of kind of the importance of that time blocking, because finances is also an important part. You said finance, like budget. That's
Mm-hmm,
another
mm-hmm.
part of the schedule blocking or the time blocking, because every Sunday or every 2 weeks when we get paid, we sit down and we make time to look at our budget and to make sure
Yeah.
our bills get paid. Like that's another thing that's just a part of the routine, is like every 2 weeks, we have our budget, we sit down, we share it with each other via email, we pay it, and then we have a whole system in place for that too. So the good thing about this system of time management is that certain things become second nature. And hopefully with self-care, that can also become second nature, because I can't imagine a week or a month going by and not doing the budget or not like paying the bills,
But
you know?
I have started to do something just to help make that a little bit easier. Now I automate basically every bill. So, in our family, I tend to be the one who does most of our budget and everything like that. And I used to every week do this budget, send an email out, we talk through it, and we still do that to an extent. But now we both have a shared app that we can see. Our budget is called YNAB, youneedabudget.com.
Mm.
And all of our bills are automated. So phone, internet, electric, it's automatic. So obviously certain things come up that you have to think about, like our HOA is once a year. We just
Mm-hmm.
paid that this month. But everything else, those day-to-day things are done. So it takes one thing off of our plate. So when times are crazy and it's unexpected, I don't have to be like, oh my God, this came up, we forgot to pay a bill. Like it's already automated for the most part. So I think that's
really
another
nice.
good way to do time management.
Yes, I hope we get to that one day, but we have not been in the place where we can pay our bills automatically, because some months we're like, okay, so we can pay the bills, but it's like, it might be a little close, kind of close. So
That's
we
facts.
do, yes. So we pay everything, most things, except the things that maybe you get a discount for if you do auto draft, like some student loans and some like
Yeah.
your cell phone bill, you get like $10 off or something. But either way you do it, like for us, it actually helps us to have that conversation, because we can look at it and say, like kind of analyze it as well, like analyze our budget
Yeah.
and our expenses when we do it weekly.
Now, other little ways that I think things that you can do to make life easier is having extras of things. So, like Bryson's the cook, as I mentioned, he will always make meals that can be leftovers for another day. Or sometimes he even cooks two meals at once so that we have some last for a few days. So if you get tired of one thing, then there's another option there. So that way he's not cooking every day. Lord knows I'm not
Mm-hmm.
helping to cook. And you have those options there. Similarly, we also, at least for me, like I'm the one who does the laundry in our house. I'm so tired of that man being like, oh, I need more underwear. I need more socks. So I finally was like, we need to buy just a ton of extras, because I know I'm going to get behind on laundry sometimes. That's just what it is. That's my reality. But at least we make sure that the things that he seems to need a lot of, because he works out all the time, we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some things that just save me the time, so I don't have the pressure to be like, oh my God, we need another load of laundry done, because, we got a couple extras to hold us over.
That's really smart. Oh my goodness. So you just wash underwear.
Literally,
That's
I'm like,
funny.
how does this person never have underwear and socks? Like, I just don't understand. I don't, but fine. I will buy you some extra so we can make it through.
We've had to do that with the kids. The daycare is always like, so we don't have uniforms like your school. So the school is like, oh, they need more pants. Like literally we've gone there twice this week because Dallas needed more pants. So Dontrell just like bought a bunch of new clothes and just dropped it off at the school. It was like, here's some outfits. So I guess that's kind of like extras because it was like,
Yeah.
this is just for school. Of course it's going to run out, but it's like, it's a starter pack for the school. I've tried the extra meals. So we do that sometimes. Like we have muffin Mondays. So we will make muffins and that will be the breakfast for the whole week. And we'll have a different muffin recipe each week. And that will be the breakfast for the kids. We'll just warm it up. And it's like, all right, this week you're having banana nut muffins. Next week it's spinach and carrot muffins. And that really does help with time management because it's like, it's already done. Just pop it in the microwave and there you go.
Yeah. I think the key is just to do things that make life easier for you, even if it's not perfect, if it's not what you think it's going to be. Like at the end of the day, we all have a lot going on, whether you have a side business or not, whether you're working from home or going into office. And you have a family that is your priority, kids who are looking, to you, a husband or significant other that you want to spend time with and nurture that relationship. So all these other things should not get in the way, and you need to figure out ways to make it easier for you.
Yeah. I will say though that sometimes I do feel kind of constrained by time because I know that I feel like I have to keep up with the schedule. Like with the kids' meals, it's like, okay, dinner has to be done at this time. So I'm kind of always racing against the clock to get things done. In my ideal world, it wouldn't be that race of like, okay, do this. It's like kind of nonstop doing things to accomplish everything in a day. I remember my therapist being like, well, why do you basically saying like, I'm making my own schedule. Why do it doesn't have to be so packed. It doesn't have to be so stressful. I can make it less packed and I don't even have to achieve everything on that list. Because I know, like I said, I do feel like I'm bound by the clock sometimes that I have to get all these things done in a day or get all these things, all my task lists done, get all these meals prepared. And I think something that I hopefully strive to do this year is to maybe remove some things from my checklist or outsource some of these things that take a bit of time to do.
Outsourcing is literally something that I'm trying to do a little bit more of this year. And people can do it in a lot of different ways. One way that I personally do it, our family does it. We have somebody who mows our lawn because we happen to have a pretty big yard. And that is great because Bryson would rather use that time to do other things with our family. And, we have somebody who comes in and cleans our home every 2 weeks. And so we obviously take care of the day-to-day things, but to have somebody come in to be able to do a more thorough clean is just time that we literally use as a family to do other, spend time together or get other things done, errands. And that takes a lot off of our plate, which I completely think people who are able to, big or small, should use that as an opportunity to, have some time for your family or yourself.
Oh my gosh. Yes, totally. I remember when I first brought that up to Dontrell, he was like, we don't need that. He kind of was like offended that I was like, we should hire cleaners. He's like, no, we can do it. And I'm like, oh my God, like I had to convince him to do it. But now I can't even convince him to get rid of them because it saves so much time. Like we used to have a schedule. I literally made a schedule of cleaning, a schedule I found on Pinterest.
I remember you guys had that.
Yes. Yeah. It was like daily things. Again, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the yearly things we need to clean. And it just took so much time. And it was fine before we had kids. But once we had kids and more side hustles, it just feels almost impossible now to think about when will we do this? Because on our weekends where we used to clean on the weekends, now we're spending time together. We're sleeping in even, like that's important. We're like gradually getting up. We're not getting up to do chores like we used to before we had kids. So
yeah,
it was such a time saver, even though it felt unnatural at first, since it kind of seemed like a luxury, which it is. But I think our time is more valuable and more well spent because we have some of that help.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. You can outsource in a lot of ways that you don't even realize. If you order a pizza, if somebody's going to drive it to you if you get it delivered, that's a form of outsourcing. That's why we now have things like Grubhub and DoorDash. You can even get your groceries, through delivery services these days. And
That's right.
so I would love to try that. I hate the grocery store. Bryson is the one who does our groceries, but I was keep trying to convince him to let's try to do this so we don't have to go spend a couple hours in Costco or wherever.
I
Gosh,
tried that
Costco.
during COVID and it was pretty decent. Like it worked very well. I only tried it, of course, because of COVID. At the beginning, everybody was at
Yeah.
home and it worked pretty well, except of course, when you get stuff, you're like, oh, wait, I forgot we need this too. So then you end up going to the store. It defeats the purpose. But yeah, you're right. There's so many ways that people outsource their time and outsource what's important to them. And I think with a family, when you identify that, it can really save you a lot of time and stress.
But especially think of it too, like your kids are at daycare or with their nanny or wherever they are during the day. You and your partner may be at work. And then the little time you have when you come home, if you have side projects, if you have after school activities for kids, like it's very limited. Everyone's time is so valuable. So if you can get some things off your plate to use that time as a family, whether it's to actually go out to dinner together or go outside and play or whatever it is, that's valuable time. Even for a side business, if you're trying to build a new side hustle, your passion project, the skills that you have to put toward this thing, time is money if you're trying to make that, something that you would profit from. So your time can be profitable for you that you can bring back to your family, as opposed to something else that you're taking all this time away from the money you'd put to that. So you can look at it in both lenses, but there's so many benefits to outsourcing, big or small.
Yeah, like I said in a previous episode, I'll know I've made it when I literally have somebody doing everything. I have a cleaner, a cook, a driver, somebody to do everything because
Stay tuned.
Yes, one day that will happen and I'm going to be I'm going to be so stress free.
Now, there are a couple of pitfalls that I have when it comes to time management. Maybe not a couple, maybe a dozen. I think I've listed a lot. But my second biggest, I'd say, because my first biggest is going down the rabbit hole and getting lost into the task that I'm doing. But my second biggest downfall is procrastination. It's so crazy because I could be somebody who's very organized and on top of things, but if I don't really want to do something, like if it's not something that I'm enjoying, I keep finding a way to push it off, but it's going to come back. I think of this with like packing if we're going on a trip, or for me, doing our budget is so stressful. So I like wait till like very, very last minute when we have responsibilities to look for to do that. But I think that sometimes acknowledging that procrastination, if that's your thing, is an issue, kind of getting ahead of it and figuring out, okay, let's knock this out. What I need to just get it out the way. Because in the big scheme, it'll help you to, get the things done that you need to get done.
Yeah. I think that's true for like maybe anything that prevents you from accomplishing your priorities for the week or the day. For me, it's not procrastination, because once I set that to-do list, I'm pretty narrowly focused on accomplishing those things within a responsible amount of time. And I can be almost to the point where it's like detrimental because I'm like, I didn't get this done. So I will get back to it after the kids go to bed. I'm like back to it because I cannot stop obsessing over the thing that I did not get done. But to that point, though, with procrastination, there are certain things like projects that work sometimes. I'm like, oh, I will push that off until I have to be mentally ready to engage.
Yes.
So that's when I will procrastinate. It's like, I'm not ready to like give my brain power to that. But for the most part, for me, it's like, I will obsess over the task until it's done. But the downfall, or the thing that could be the black hole for me, is maybe that obsession, because I just can't stop thinking about it. Like even little things, like even like this week we're moving right now. We're packing, we're getting ready to move. So we have this like laundry list of things we want to get done. And every day we have our little morning meetings. We talk about what we need to get done. But if it's something that's carried over from the previous day, I'm sure my husband gets so annoyed with me because I will continue to nag him or bring it up until it's done, because it literally is on my mind. Anytime I have a quiet moment, I'm going to think of that thing. that didn't get done. And I think that's probably like a little OCD of me, but And I see that as a downfall because it's a bit obsessive, but it does encourage me to get it done, I guess.
I mean, it is, like you said, of checking something off the to-do list feels great. And so if you don't get it checked off, it can be frustrating. You're like, okay, we got to get this taken care of. We got to get this taken care of. So, but like I said, and like we talked about before, time blocks, pushing on to the next day is key. So if you nag them about it, just say, okay, we pushed it off to today. We need to get this taken care of.
Right. And another thing though that can happen when you do have a lot of priorities and responsibilities is multitasking and not being present in what you're doing. And which I find can lead to mistakes or errors, which drive me crazy. But with these multiple priorities, with with raising multiple children or one child and a job and everything else, I find that multitasking is almost second nature at times. So being present, I think, is my number one goal in life, is to be present for each priority, each checklist item, and to focus your 100% attention on that, so that I think that I honestly feel like that's the best way to accomplish something successfully, is to be present, and even not even accomplish, but to enjoy that task as well, is to be present. And that's also something that's hard to do.
Well, I think that I go back and forth on multitasking. I think there are benefits to it, and there are times that it's not great. I am the queen of multitasking, and I think it's a strength of mine in some ways, because I literally can do a lot of things at once. And I think a lot of women in particular tend to be multitaskers. But on the same token, sometimes if you do too much multitasking, then you aren't focused, like you said. So I think it's a fine line. And as I take on more responsibilities in my life, I find that I can't multitask as much as I did before. So just kind of seeing what the production level comes out of it. Are you still able to do the things you want to do in a timely fashion and be productive with that and get all your goals accomplished? Or is it something that's kind of holding you back? I think is something you need to consider. So it could be good in some cases, and maybe in others you do need to focus on individual tasks a little bit more.
So what do you think are the benefits of multitasking?
So I think that it frees up my time. Like an example of that is I usually will, for example, if I fold laundry while I am watching a show, then I'm kind of knocking out maybe this is not the best, but like I'm not getting the most self-care time, but I'm doing something I enjoy while doing something I hate, which is folding laundry. Or at the same time, like if I am writing an email or doing something on my computer, I also, if it's something that I can do while listening to like a podcast or listening to a lecture, if I could do both at the same time, I can sometimes do it depending on how in depth I need to listen to something. But I usually try to knock out at least two things at once at a time. That's literally what I try to do. And if I can't do two things at once, I usually push off the thing that I can't do at the same time, because I'm like, okay, this is a waste of time.
That's crazy. You try to do two things at once. Wow.
Literally, that's how my brain works. I'm like, okay, what can I do together? What pairs well together that I can knock both of these things out at once? But that being said, I have found that if I'm doing way too much, then I might forget little details. I'm like, oh wait, what was happening there? So it's not always going to work that great.
I was thinking, so what you're describing to me that's not multitasking. It's like finding a way to enjoy something that you don't necessarily enjoy. Like if I'm doing laundry, which personally I don't enjoy, I will be listening to music or watching something. I was thinking more so about if I'm working, let's say I'm on a meeting, a lot of meetings for my job. If I'm in a meeting and then I'm checking emails during the meeting, that to me is not being present. I'm like not focused on the conversation. I'm like halfway there.
That makes sense.
I feel like I'm trying to do two things at once, but something's not going to be giving the full attention. Like I'm not going to hear what somebody said in the meeting, or I'm going to respond. I maybe make a mistake in the email. So I'm thinking more about things that maybe have more on the line if you do them both at the same time.
So that's an example of maybe that's not the best type of multitasking. I definitely have been in that situation where like I'm doing something on my phone and Bryson's talking to me and I'm like, yeah, I'm listening to your story and I'm really not listening to a story.
Right.
So that's not the best kind of multitasking. But like, you know, like I said, laundry and something else at the same time. Like sometimes it's like if I need to watch the kids and I want to get stuff done, I'm like, okay, what task can I do that I can watch the kids at the same
Yes.
time? So I put them in the kitchen and then put them with pots and pans while I'm washing the dishes. That's to me is more
Yes.
effective multitasking.
Yes, I'm totally with that too. Like I will have to cook dinner and watch them. Sometimes it's not a choice. Or I'll have like I might be like, oh, I'm gonna put their laundry away while I'm in the room with them. I put their laundry away and I'll be with them, but I'm also gonna get this laundry done. So
Exactly. So just knowing when it's going to be beneficial and when it's not.
yeah, that's the life of a mom, I think.
I know.
Is that you cannot do one thing all the time. You have to multitask. Even though I think women are much better at that. Like Don Charles sometimes is like, oh my gosh, like how do you get all this done? Not only am I just fast, but the multitasking that helps.
Yeah. But you know, I read something somewhere in an article that says, you know, men just are not, they don't tend to multitask in a way that women do. And that reflects how they are in the workplace. I wish I knew what that article was. If I do, I'll put it in the show notes. But basically, you know, multitasking is something that women have been traditionally described as doing a lot, but as we said, certain benefits to not multitasking may make you more productive in certain settings. And so at the same time, though, I do think that Bryson is slow when it comes to certain things. I'm like, okay, if you had just knocked this and this out, we would have been done here. So that's why I believe there are benefits to both.
Yeah, totally. So what about like when it comes to your scheduling that do you have a particular process or tools that you use for scheduling your time?
Yes. Oh my gosh. My planner is my brain. I have a written planner that every year in the end of the year, so I have my 2022 one now. So about October or November, I get my new planner. It has to be a certain planner. It's usually from Target. I'm like, know that this is the one because I write everything down, my to-do list, my schedule. It's color coded, and it's exactly what I need for my personal life. I don't always put family stuff in there, but I call it my brain because everything that I need to do is in that book. Now, for our family, we have a big calendar that we have on the wall, and we write like the major things that are going on, major responsibilities. We have a section for notes, like what we need from the grocery store or what appointments are coming up. But that is kind of the organization we have for our family in that way. I've tried to have a Google Calendar with Bryson, but he seems to not ever read it.
Yeah.
What
I
about
know.
you guys?
That's the thing. So my family does have that whiteboard, which we actually we do try to keep it updated. That has been the thing that works for us. And even when things are not on there, I'm like, it wasn't on the whiteboard. Like my husband does stuff with his fraternity and like his other commitments. And it's like, oh, I have to go out of town. I'm like, well, it wasn't on the whiteboard, so it doesn't count. So we make sure we put all of our family commitments, and it's actually color coded. Every person in the house has their own color. Just I don't know, it just feels nice to do that. And
Yeah.
then we've tried Google Calendar actually with our family, like even between families. I know me, you, mom, our
Yeah.
families individually, and then mom tried to have a shared Google Calendar that worked for a little bit, but then COVID, so things got thrown off. But that was one attempt at that. And then for me personally, unlike you, I've tried a lot of different things and nothing has stuck. Like I said, the Happy Planner, I tried that when I was in one job and I really liked it at that time, but I'm not
Mhm.
married to any one thing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to try something else. So then I tried a Google Calendar. Like this one job I had, everything was Google. And I really loved Google Calendar because for one, with that position, you could share your calendars. Everyone has Google. So it
Yeah.
was really great to share calendar invites, and even with different extracurricular events would be added to Google. So I really love that. I do think even if I don't have like a set planner, there's something about like writing it down that I really love. So I've tried a lot of different to-do lists, a lot of different notepads. I will say a notepad is pretty key. But with the scheduling, I tried the planner that you use, Renita, from
Mhm.
Target. It's called Day Designer. And what I
Yeah.
like about it is that every day it has a page for every day with the hours of the day and the to-do list. And those are my favorite parts. It's the breakdown of the hours for the day and the to-do list. Because while I have my Outlook and Google or whatever for my jobs, I also don't always have that at my, well, it just helps to write it down. I think
It
something about writing, like
does.
muscle memory, feels good.
Oh, yeah. I love writing it down. And then if I don't have my brain with me, then I have the note section on my iPhone. I can do really quick notes like, okay, don't forget this.
Mm.
So I
Oh
have
my
that
gosh,
too.
you do that. I will text myself in
Oh,
text
yeah.
send text to myself on my phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So there's so many different ways to stay organized and keep it all together. I mean, and not everyone is type A like me. I I always think about like not to characterize all men, but I feel like some people don't have a plan, and I know my husband's not really a planner. Now that we have kids, I see him plan with regards to our routines, but everything else it's kind of like, "Oh, we'll figure it out." And we all seem to make it work. So wherever you fit into that category, I think, at the end of the day, just thinking about ways to make your life easier and to take some of the stress off your plate is just to organize yourself in a little way so that you can get the things that you need to get done without feeling bad about it.
Right. Yep, that's so true.
Yeah.
Little things, even like I think having those staples in your schedule will help you plan other things around that. So
Oh,
knowing your
yeah.
commute, if you have to commute at a certain time, if your kids have to be at school at a certain time, what time are your meals? And having
Yeah.
those anchors will help the other things fall into place because those anchors are there.
Yeah.
So now it's time for rapid fire, where we answer questions related to the topic of the day. So, first topic, Renita, is do you prefer an electronic planner or a written planner?
Absolutely a written planner. As I said, my brain. But the best part of the written planner for me is my ability to go back and forth on what happened in the past and what needs to happen in the future. Like, I feel like just being able to literally flip the pages and see that is helpful with organization for me. So if I need to remember, okay, in 3 months from now our HOA is due, then I can easily see it written down there. Or if I'm like, okay, what did we do last year for Jackson's soccer? Where did we take him? I can literally easily flip back and see it that way. It's color coded. It's easy.
Awesome.
What about
I
you?
don't I don't have a preference. I was thinking about that as you were talking. I just try so many different things. I really want to find one thing that works, but I don't have a preference. I've tried this Rocket Planner, which is an electronic written planner, which is pretty interesting. You write and then the notes go into your whatever storage solution you use. It could be your Google or your Google Drive or your Outlook. That was interesting. I don't have a preference. I think as long as it's captured somewhere and I'm enjoying the process of capturing it.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing that you delegate to others?
Outsourcing. Let's see. Cleaning the house is the number one thing, but if I could outsource one thing to delegate to somebody else today, it would be folding my laundry. I do the laundry as my responsibility. It takes me one day to wash, one day to dry, 5 to 7 business days to fold. So if somebody else could do it, that'd be easy.
Yeah, I have a pile of laundry that needs to be put away right now too. But for me, this sounds, I mean, when I was thinking about it, it sounds weird, but like delegate, I feel like I do a lot of the management of the household because that's just kind of my personality. And with my husband, he's kind of like, what do you need me to do? So sometimes the things I will delegate him is calling places and like managing things that need to be done that are outside of the norm. So right now we're moving. So it's like, oh, can you figure out the storage? Can you figure out daycare? Can you figure out movers? Can you figure out just everything? And he's like happily, I mean, of course, he's happy to, I mean, it's his family too, but certain things like that, when it comes to like connecting with other people, I'm like, can you just do that? So that's
I
one thing
do
I'll
the same
delegate.
thing. I'm like, Bryson, can you please call and figure this one thing out? I'll
Right.
like look up the people to call, but I'm like, here, take this number and call.
Right. It's like something's broken. Can you figure this out, please? What is the most important boundary to set to help with time management, in your opinion?
I think that, I tend to be a people pleaser. So sometimes I will know that something needs to get done, but somebody will invite me somewhere or somebody will say, oh, I need to have this done. And I'll be like, okay, fine. And it'll creep into what I need to actually have done. So learning to say no can actually be my self-care. So I might not exercise, I might not meditate and all those other things. So if somebody needs something of me that I can't really give right now because I have things that need to get done, I think it's important to try to say no, a polite no, but try to do a better job of saying no.
Wow. I'm the complete opposite because I feel like for me, it's learning to say, not even learning, but to help with time management, I think it's to say yes to certain things. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive with time management, but I think we can talk ourselves out of things like, oh, I'm not going to work out, or I'm not going to go on, for me at least, I'm not going to go on a walk. I'm not going to go out with my friends because I have this other things to do. I think for me, I need to start saying yes to those things that I feel like I don't have time for, because those things are usually the things that'll bring me joy. Going out with friends, working out, journaling, the self-care pieces that I'm like, nope, can't do that. I need to do something else more responsible instead. So I think the boundary for me is say yes to the things that will actually bring you peace and joy.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What is the most important routine that helps you in the morning with your time management?
So I can tell you what it should be and what it actually is. What it should be is planning, getting things prepared in advance, washing the bottles and the sippy cups that I have to take to school, making sure the clothes is available. Those are what I should do. But what actually ends up happening is just knowing the times that the kids need to be there and who's taking them. Because if we know those things, then we can get them on time and they'll be able to actually arrive.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the days that I'm taking the kids, I know that I take a long time in the morning. So I may not have the clothes and all that stuff already packed and taken care of, but I know that I need to be dressed and ready by 7. So
Yeah.
I have between 7 and 7:30 to get them going.
Yep. That does matter. My number one routine would be to write my daily checklist every morning. So thinking about when I first start working or when my day starts professionally, when the kids are gone and everything, to then sit down and write down everything that I need to accomplish that day, my top priorities and the to-do list items, both professionally and personally, so that I can hold myself accountable to try to get them done, and also just a refresher of what needs to be accomplished, from things like pay this bill or call this person about the kid's birthday, and even for my job of certain emails that need to be sent, or just anything, just making that time to write it down.
Yeah.
What's the most important routine that helps you in the evening time with your time management?
So I said before that evening time with my family is one of the most important times. We can all spend time together, playing, eating, dinner together, and all those things. But sometimes life gets in the way. I might be still working on some things on my computer and all of this. So one thing I will be definitely incorporating to be the most important routine is to put my phone away from a certain block of time so that no matter what, unless I'm on call, I get to spend that time with my family.
That's nice, because the kids are noticing. I know my son, Dallas, he's starting to notice, Mommy, put your phone away.
Oh my
But
gosh. That is so true. Jackson the other day, he woke up from his nap. I was like, Jackson, did you have a good nap? And he's like, yes, mommy. Mommy, did you have a good phone? I was like, oh my
wow.
God.
Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
gosh.
Wow.
Child is something
Oh
else.
my gosh. Well, my routine that helps with time management in the evening is gosh, that threw me off. Okay, yes. The most important routine that helps me in the evening is the mealtime routine, knowing what we're going to eat for dinner and having that prepared and sticking to the time of it. Some nights when we are off, it really throws things off. The kids go to bed late, then my evening is kind of thrown off because I look up, the kids are in bed, and now it's 8:30 and I'm like, okay, great. Now I just have an hour and a half until I go to bed. So having that meal time, the meal thought through, cooked, and have us sitting down and eating by 6 o'clock is very important. So sticking to that routine helps me in the evening time because it ensures that the kids are on schedule and that I still get my time in the evening to accomplish the things that I'm doing for my time blocking.
Yeah.
What's the most important routine that helps you on the weekend when you have other priorities to accomplish?
Weekends are really critical for me because I work weekends sometimes and I may be completely unavailable depending on how busy my call is. So on the weekends that I am not working, it's really important to me that I get to really just give my all into family time. So that I have a period of time to put the kids down for their nap, to watch. We love movies, so watch movies together with the kids, to be able to go outside with them. So on the times that I'm not working, on the weekend, that's the time that I definitely just put everything away. We have our routine in the morning where Bryson will cook breakfast. We all sit down together, and kind of the way we start our morning kind of sets a tone for the rest of the day. So that morning routine on the weekend is different than our morning routine on a school day, but that sets the tone for what it's going to be like the rest of the time.
Mm-hmm. Right. On the weekends, I try to not live by a schedule, honestly. Like that's the only time of the week where the schedule is out the window. We don't wake up at a certain time and we go to bed at a certain time, but the kids, we hope that they kind of just roll out of bed and the day is kind of free to what we want to do. We stick to the nap, and we stick to the sleep schedule and the meal schedule. But other than that, we try to keep it pretty free. I know the one thing that I do try to maintain is like at least 2 hours of work time for me for my side hustles. But other than that, it's like, it's a free for all. What do we want to do? How do we want to enjoy our time? And let's just focus on that instead of adhering to a schedule. So that for me is actually one of my favorite times of the week where the schedule's out of the window and we can just do what we enjoy, living free of schedules.
Now, we have mentioned a couple times self-care, and I think it's really important to talk about self-care when it comes to time management and our lives because, we've kind of alluded to the fact that sometimes that gets lost in things, whether it be, not doing the things we want to do or not going out and doing things for fun and needing to say yes more. But what are some things that you think good with self-care and some things that you wish that you could do a little bit of a better job with?
Well, when it comes to like time management and my schedules, I keep it free when it comes to self-care or times for me. I try to designate Sundays as like a self-care Sunday. So while I might not be doing anything during the weekdays to practice self-care, some weeks I do. Some weeks I do yoga or I do like work on the exercise bike. But Sundays for me is my designated time to make time for myself. That could be taking a bath, journaling, doing like a kind of more special skincare routine where I'll do the steamer and a mask and exfoliation and then a lip exfoliation. So for me, it's more so like on Sundays is where I have that designated time once the kids go to bed. And I'm like, this is when I have to invest in myself for my own personal self-care. So that is what works for me right now. Right now, I feel like every day is a hard ask, but Sundays is something that I can commit to at this time.
I mean, I think that, it's, I'm not perfect at it by any means. And I know a lot of things that I want to be different. I want to feel like I have a set carved out time every day, and I absolutely don't have that. But I think little things along the way are what I want to incorporate into my routines. So if that means that at least once a day I can meditate, because that's something I like to do. If that means once a day I can watch my favorite show, me being on my car ride, listening to the songs I like, or catching up with a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time. I think those are the little things that can feed into self-care for me. And so part of what I would like to do more of as we think about time management and making that a priority is turning some of these little moments into bigger moments throughout the day. So that's a goal that I think that I have.
Yeah, I hope to do that too.
Yeah. Well, I hope that this conversation is helpful for all the moms out there, just thinking about all the things that are on your plate and ways that you can make life easier for you. It is not easy, as you can see, but we all are doing the best that we can, and we hope that this is giving you a little inspiration and encouragement on the days that you feel like you wish it was going a little bit better.
Right. There's so many different ways to manage your time, and even if there's a small nugget that you can apply. And even I've learned a lot from hearing you, Renita, about some of the things you do, like this budgeting app. I need to look into that. That seems like something we could probably use. But even those little things help make the days feel more manageable, and that you're controlling your time and that it's not controlling you.
Yep, absolutely. So join us next time in 2 weeks for another episode. We'll see you then. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss a thing, and leave us a review. You can also follow us on Instagram at The Cradle and All, or email us at thecradleandall@gmail.com.